Here's the big story from over the weekend from Newsweek. Kamala Harris's Lebanon relief under scrutiny as GOP stokes Helene backlash. Look, I like Newsweek. They do a lot of good stuff sometimes. They're not as bad as a lot of these other corporate press outlets. They've got some good people over there. But this one is just, guys, GOP stokes Helene backlash. Kamala Harris on October 5th, for no reason, tweeted out, "The people of Lebanon are facing an increasingly dire humanitarian situation. I am concerned about the security and well-being of civilians suffering in Lebanon and will continue working to help meet the needs of all civilians there. To that end, the United States will provide nearly $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon for essential needs, such as food, shelter, water, protection, and sanitation, to help those who have been displaced by the recent conflict. This additional support brings total U.S. assistance to Lebanon over the last year to over $385 million. Why? Why?
Who else could use food, water, and protection?
Just first question. Why tweet this?
You want to rub it in people's faces. That's what it is.
Was Kamala sitting there being like, I really don't want to be president. I'm going to sabotage my own campaign right now.
Michael Malice knows why. He said it on the Joe Rogan podcast. She's a retard.
It's one of the wildest tweets because she put this out while Donald Trump was speaking at the Butler rally, his big return to Butler, Pennsylvania rally.
This is her gotcha moment.
On stage, and to distract from whatever he's saying, she's like, I know what I'll say.
Ableism.
That will make people like me. I don't really believe she writes her own tweets. So whichever aide wrote this for her and was like, no, it's a great idea that we talk about this right now. Clearly did not read the room when it comes to the American people.
There is a secret Magga mole working for Kamala's campaign.
Writing the tweets.
And was like, I am going to put a stop to this, and just tweeted this out because, look, there's a lot of money the U.S. gives to a lot of people, and we're pissed off about most of it.
Yeah.
But you don't tweet about it. And so here she is in one of the most critical moments where people in North Carolina and Georgia are suffering and dying. And she's like, by the way, $400 million went to Lebanon.
What are the chances it was like one of the tweets where you schedule for later? Someone scheduled it and they forgot to take it off. They're just like, this will blah, blah, blah.
That's actually a really good point.
I'm not saying that it was, but it could be.
But I got to tell you, there's another component to this, and that it was scheduled 2 days before October 7th. Basically saying the people of Lebanon are facing a dire humanitarian situation. And it's like, no, that's true. They are. But there is a war going on. And for all the people who are divided on the issue of Israel, she's just basically fanning the flames of those tensions. Because I assure you, the pro-Israel people are like, why would she post this 2 days before the anniversary, October 7th?
Americans are still held hostage. There are still Americans being held by Hamas today.
There's 4, right?
Yeah, still today. So the fact that and again, I totally agree with you. The people of Lebanon, they're suffering because of Hezbollah, because of Iran. But
it's a war between, look, all this is going to do is piss off the pro-Israel people who are being like, why are you giving money to the people we are at war with? And fine, by all means, humanitarian assistance we get, but 2 days before October 7th, I'm not saying it's the biggest point here, but it's just like, if you could ever craft a tweet and time it perfectly to sabotage your campaign, that would be it. Is the October surprise Kamala Harris just basically tries resigning?
I think that she is surprised she is in the position she is surprised to find herself the presidential candidate. She's never been able to effectively message on the Middle East conflict at all. I mean, and part of it is because Democratic, especially progressive voters, are more divided on it than, their counterparts maybe on the right. I don't think thinks anything through. Like I said, I don't think she runs her own Twitter account. So someone else wrote this out. She doesn't take questions from the media. We're not even sure she knows it was posted. And again, I think it speaks to the fact that this is a very detached campaign. Fox News had this report over the weekend that since the Harris-Walz ticket was formed, so after Walz was named as the VP, they did something like 25 interviews, right? And they're starting to ramp that up now. During the same period of time, Trump advanced it 63. So we have one campaign that is really trying to get their messaging to the people, that's really trying to talk about the issues. And we have another one that's sort of trying to coast on vibes and, hey, look, we're not Joe Biden, so feel the relief. It's not enough. They're not going to convert voters this way.
Well, and you don't have a message. When you saw just the clip from 60 Minutes, you saw what she said. She's just word salad after word salad. Here's my economic plan is to tax people and the billionaires aren't paying enough, and which means everybody's going to pay.
That clip was
Let's go.
that clip was brutal.
It was.
And he's like, "Yeah, we live in the real world."
The lighting looks bad on her too. It's like they screwed up the lighting. They screwed up everything on her, like they did with that other interview with Dana Bash.
I hope the deep state is actually it's a double conspiracy and they want Trump to win because I accept that. Like, please, we cannot have Kamala Harris. There's
It'll be dark days.
there's the double conspiracy is that Trump is actually a part of the deep state. And the deep state's pretending that he's under fire so that people like Alex Jones and anti-government people flock to Trump, but then actually end up waving American flags. I'm just like, I hope that's really what's going on because we cannot have 4 years of Kamala Harris.
Well, can he do? If he does half of what he says he's going to do, which he won't do, he'll probably get a quarter done of what he wants to do. It's still going to be better than what we're at now, which is digging ourselves in a rut and just leaving people out to dry. Like the response to that hurricane is just savage. What they're doing to these people.
Even if he gets none of what he wants to do done, and I'm serious.
Right.
Even if he gets none of what he wants to do and just prevents Democrat policies from being implemented, that's a win.
I gotta one up you. If Trump ends up doing 9 out of the 10 things that Kamala was going to do, it's still a win. It's so bad. The current administration, open borders, the wars are escalating dramatically. The wages adjusted for inflation are way down. People can't afford to buy groceries. If Trump was like, I'm going to leave everything as it is, but de-escalate wars, it's like, well, I guess we're better off.
I mean, it's not hard to.
But you know he's going to drill. You know he's going to. Well, you know we're going to get cheaper gas at the end of this, and cheaper gas means everything else is cheaper.
Exactly. That alone is reason enough.
But
The
that's
cheaper
big
gas-
oil, But big oil is what runs the world at this point.
The arguments from the left, particularly the people that are against oil, they're the arguments of children. They're not serious. They're not adults. They don't think about the things they're talking about. If everything that we use is made with oil, so I'm all for Teslas. I'm getting a Tesla next year, I think. I love the S. Tim has sold me on them. They're great cars. I back them.
Abandon the Jeep gang.
They're commuter
How
cars.
could you?
They're great local cars. We drive them to DC and back with no issues. It's an hour drive or so. When we took Cybertruck up to Butler, we only needed to charge one time between here and Pittsburgh. We stopped twice just because we wanted to.
Yeah.
We were like, we might as well just top it off. And then we got to from Pittsburgh, fully charged to Butler. We were at 88%. And then we powered the War Room podcast. They plugged into Cybertruck, ran the show, and they had a Starlink on top for their backup internet. And then once the show was done, and we couldn't keep the Cybertruck there because you're not in all those cars, we ended up leaving, and I don't know, it was 80%. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't recommend hauling serious stuff across the country with a Cybertruck, but for local back and forth stuff, it's super easy. Did you ever see that video where the guy is yelling at the environmental protesters? And he's like, everything you're wearing is made of oil. Your coats are made from oil. Like, what do you get rid of them?
I mean, we've said this on the show before, but if you were to stop using petroleum products, like 2/3 of the population of Earth dies because all the chemicals that they use, or not the chemicals, but the fertilizers that they use to grow food, they're all petroleum based. So it's a ridiculous idea to say, oh, we need to get rid of oil and stuff.
Now that's not to say we can't do things better.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
But you have to have an oil-based economy.
Yeah, it's the just stop oil people that
So we
are the
can
ones.
power it
Well,
on
and I
unicorn
feel like
farts.
environmentalism used to be the trendy countercultural movement of generations past, whereas now it sort of doesn't make sense. I mean, if you really care about oil or emissions, right, you would look at other countries that are really terrible in terms of these things and take them more seriously. Instead, it's always like, the U.S. and Europe, you should probably ban your plastic straws, and that will fix
Meanwhile,
it.
India and China and
Right.
Shangri-La,
I mean,
they're just
let's not
dumping
forget
it in the
J.D. Vance
ocean.
in the debate saying if you were serious about the environment, you would move all manufacturing back to the U.S. where we have the cleanest economy. I mean, this is
100%.
one of the criticisms with NAFTA, right? That there were all sorts of environmental emissions regulations, but Mexico never followed them and no one ever enforced it. And so therefore, it's just this thing that we do as a weird virtue signal and to give the government more things to regulate.
People forget that the most beneficial solutions are usually pro-America solutions, America first solutions.
I just got it. Did you say Shangri-La?
Shangri-La, yeah.
So I love that because for those that don't know, Shangri-La is an earthly paradise. And so I'm like, well, they maintain their earthly paradise by dumping all their garbage into the ocean. It's a fictional place in Tibet, and they're just dumping all their garbage so that they can keep it clean.
You could go down the river.
That's right.
Down the river. Have you seen there's some of these videos, they'll just show this rolling mound of plastic just going through a canal, and you're like, wow, that's what the uncivilized world is doing. And it's because they don't have it, they haven't set up systems to do that. And maybe we could do that instead of killing people.
But the crazy thing too is, look, humans build cities on rivers because they're water sources, and our rivers are dirty. I mean, name a city where you'd go into a downtown river and enjoy a swim.
No.
Well, you can in parts of Austin where the natural spring pops up and then flows into the river, which you don't go swimming. But that's only one little part.
It's messy, but so let me show you this real quick before we wrap up on this first part. This is FEMA. On October 4th, said $45 million would go to the Hurricane Helene survivors, continue to address critical needs. $45 million. Now, I'm hearing all these excuses from Democrats where they're like, well, that's what was allocated. And it's just 157 was allocated to Lebanon. And I'm like, yeah, we're mad about it. What don't you get? Well, it's Republicans in Congress, and it's the Democrats in Congress too. Democrats have the Senate. They can propose bills and send them to the House. House could do the same thing. Why, for the love of all that's holy, why aren't Republicans just having an emergency session or the speaker getting together and making a press conference saying, we need to get Congress back in here to allocate more funds? Republicans can put it on Democrats, or Democrats could do the same thing and put it on Republicans.
I think I said this the other day, but the very first day that the hurricane hit, the president and Kamala Harris, because they're one and the same, and the president is not with us, and the Speaker of the House and the majority leader of the Senate should have been calling for all of Congress to come back to make sure that there was funding. Mm-hmm. They were on whatever they call it, leave or whatever. Bring them back and make them do their job for the American people.
Yeah.
Well, their solution seems to be because Mike Johnson said we need to give more money to FEMA. Is that going to really help? Do we really want bean counters going in there and trying to help people, or do we give it to the states?
To be honest with you, it's better than doing nothing.
Sure, but I think you give this money to the states and let them figure it out because they know how to fix their system.
But isn't North Carolina doing a crap job of it, if I understand correctly? And I'm talking about the North Carolina government.
Yeah. The thing is, they shouldn't have gone to Lebanon is the thing. Lebanon's getting $157 million. North Carolina, Florida, Georgia should at least get double that.
At least. I mean, at least have people
Not a
who's going in
third.
there. When Hurricane Rita hit, 2007, it hit Southwest Louisiana where my parents lived. And within 2 days, the National Guard had gone through and cut, because 30% of the trees fell down in this area, went and cut all the roads out. They had everything bulldozed to the side so people could get through in 2 days. In 2 days, and they're saying they can't do that, and we're 2 weeks into this.
Again, I mentioned this just the other night. Look, during the Berlin airlift, they had an airplane landing in Berlin every 30 seconds
in the 40s.
In the 40s. So don't tell me that we can't take care of the people that are suffering in North Carolina.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.